Good evening, Ohio State fans. As you can see, my name is Buckeye Bob. I'm in conjunction with Mark Rogers TV. And I want to say thank you for joining me tonight as we go back and look at what we just watched. As Ohio State, the number 2 ranked team in the country, gets by Notre Dame 21-10. I don't think many of us saw that score. Obviously, the people in Las Vegas didn't see it that way. But right now, a win is a win. That's the way I'm going to look at it. And you guys, I want you to understand one thing. This is an opinionated program. My opinion does not mean it's the gospel or the truth, but I'm open to suggestions from everybody else, some comments. So basically what I'm going to do with the show tonight, I'll usually have a couple other guys with me. They were unavailable this weekend, so I'm flying solo. The Arkansas State game, I will have both guys on it with me. So obviously your interaction will help us make the show as good as we can. So basically what I'm going to do tonight is I will break down the game offensively, defensively. We'll go down through the drive chart, basically just how the game unfolded. The good, the bad, the ugly. You guys are more than welcome to offer up your opinions as well. So we'll just go ahead and get started right now. Ohio State came into the game tonight, obviously ranked number 2 in the country. They were, I think, at kickoff 17-point favorites. And we knew there was an elite offense with Ohio State. We all had questions about the defense. I think that got answered tonight a little bit. So we're going to cover that in its own little segment. And we'll start by how things unfolded. So Ohio State won the toss. They deferred and kicked off to Notre Dame. And after a good special teams tackle right out of the gate, Notre Dame's first play from scrimmage, they threw a pass out in the flat, and Lorenzo Styles was able to make a great grab and race 54 yards down the sideline untouched. And to make matters worse, once he was finally knocked out of bounds, there was a 15-yard penalty added on top of that. So right out of the gate, a 64-yard play, and Ohio State had their backs against the wall. And this is where I think something last year that all us fans were used to, where Ohio State on a play like that defensively, they would just go ahead, end up giving up a touchdown. But I tell you what, the defense bowed up. They held Notre Dame to a field goal. It was a 33-yard field goal. It was a 5-play drive, and Notre Dame went up 3-0. So no big deal. Okay, fine. This is 2 versus 5. You're going to have big plays. So once Ohio State got the kickoff, they went 4 plays from the 25-yard line. There was a personal foul added on as well, but they ended up having to punt. And someone I'm going to bring up a little bit later on here in this show is Jesse Mirco. Had a 48-yard punt, pinned Notre Dame back on the 5-yard line. I think Jesse's going to be one of my players of the game, too, to be honest with you. So that's one of the players of the games, no doubt, because Notre Dame really struggled offensively because Ohio State put them in such a bad position offensively, basically through the whole first half. So back to Notre Dame. Again, with the poor field position, Ohio State was able to hold, get them the punt, and that's where Ohio State took advantage of the field position. And from the 46-yard line, they moved methodically down the field, and they hit Emeka Egbuka. C.J. Stroud with a 31-yard pass to Emeka. I tell you what, it was a hell of a pass, too. He threaded the needle right out there in the flat. Emeka turned upfield and was able to race into the end zone for a touchdown. Ohio State 7-3 at that point. Again, Ohio State kicks it off. Notre Dame takes over on their own 25-yard line. 3 plays or 4 plays or so, and it ends in a sack. And I believe it was Mike Hall. He's another guy that we need to talk about here this evening. So I thought Mike Hall played a great game tonight defensively. But again, we're going to cover that down the road. So right here, finally, Ohio State got a little bit of momentum, up 7-3, and you get the stop. So that's what you want right there. Get the stop. Let's go back on offense. Let's get things moving, and let's go down and add more points. But what we didn't realize, though, too, is that Jackson Smith-Njigba ended up getting hurt. And you could tell that he was struggling this evening, and he did have some issues, and it was probably best in that second half he tried to go, but it was probably just best for him to go ahead and wait it out. We don't know what the seriousness of the injury is, and with Ohio State, they don't give any type of updates on injuries. So we'll be left to speculate on that. We just hope that it's not serious. So Ohio State takes over after a punt from Notre Dame, and then they have to give it right back to Notre Dame. So first quarter ends, Ohio State up 7-3, and things are not going to what we thought probably offensively. Notre Dame was playing very, very well. You have to give the opponents some credit sometimes. To be honest, Notre Dame's defensive plan this evening reminded me of like Northwestern's plan. Just play two deep safeties, keep everything back, keep everything in front of you, and have to make you dink and dunk down the field and have to try to make you run the football. And they were able to sit on routes. You lose Njigba, a great offensive weapon. Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka now have to step up. And to Notre Dame's credit, they did a great job shutting a lot of that stuff down and keeping everything in front of them. They also did a decent job, too, in the run game, too, not letting any explosive plays happen at all with Williams or Henderson. Of course, that's the great thing about the run game. You know, a great line from a movie, just like Novocaine, just give it a time, it'll eventually work. And down the stretch, it eventually did. And we were able to run the clock out and ended up getting the win down the stretch. So second quarter takes over, and Notre Dame's got the ball. First play out, 34-yard catch. They run a nice little action down the left side. The kid makes a great play, juggling catch, goes down. Next play, they hit the tight end right down the middle. Notre Dame's threatening now. They end up punching it in from 1 yard out. That drive was 87 yards, okay? So something that you don't like to see when you give up large drives like that, but that's part of the game, okay? So it's going to happen from time to time. Give Notre Dame credit once again. You had basically a walk-on kid making an amazing play down the sideline with a juggling catch. He made the play. So you tip your hat to them. Another juggling catch by the tight end right down the center of the field. Give them credit. They did what they had to do. They stuck it in. Notre Dame goes up 10-7. Now, always what you want to look for is when you're talking elite teams, how do they respond? Okay? So Ohio State gets the kickoff, and they end up having a punt. So Ohio State goes 39 yards, 10. Well, I take that back. Excuse me. They punted down. Mirko with another great punt, pins Notre Dame down. Notre Dame has to give it back to Ohio State. Ohio State goes on a nice little drive, 39 yards, 10 plays, and then the Noah Ruggles misses one field goal all of last year in his first attempt this year, and he hooks it a little left. So the score remains 10-7, and basically that takes you into halftime right there. So first half, again, Ohio State doesn't get things going offensively. Give Notre Dame credit. But you also got to give some credit to Ohio State's defense. I love the way they attack. Jim Knowles did a great job on game planning, understanding how to attack Notre Dame. And those defensive linemen and the DNs were fantastic tonight. Absolutely fantastic tonight, especially with a new quarterback coming into play, his first time start in the Horseshoe. And, hey, you got to give him credit. That front four was menacing tonight, and you'll see that by the stats as I go over them a little bit later on. So second half begins, and just what you want. Ohio State deferred. They're going to get the toss or going to get the kickoff to start the second half. Let's go in and make some halftime adjustments. Ryan Day always does a very good job at making halftime adjustments. So what happens? Ohio State takes over on their own 25-yard line and goes 3-and-out. Not exactly what you wanted for that start of the second half when it comes to Ohio State, especially Ryan Day. So 3-and-out. They punted away to Notre Dame. And what happens? You got a personal foul by Zach Harrison after another nice punt by Jesse Mirco. So you got a personal foul there, gives them a 15-yard penalty. And then later in that same drive, which was a tough call on Latham Ransom, the roughing the passer call as Buckner was going down for the slide. It's so tough, guys. You got to understand something. It's so tough that you got guys flying around at 100 miles an hour, and you just can't pull up sometimes. And the quarterback decided to go down so late that Latham Ransom, what are you going to do? It's just a tough call. It went against Ohio State. There's nothing you can do about it, so you move on. The great thing about it is Ohio State didn't get upset about it. They found a way to get them off the field, get the defense off the field, and they were able to hold Notre Dame, and which I feel was huge because Ohio State took over on the 30-yard line, and actually this was the drive of the second biggest drive of the game. That last drive when Maya Williams went and scores the biggest drive. So 30-yard line, they take over, and they became men because they got after that defensive line. They went 10 plays, 70 yards in 4 minutes and 43 seconds. And of all people, Xavier Johnson with the touchdown pass. And what I couldn't understand, and it was mentioned on the broadcast, is the way Notre Dame was playing the whole night, just keeping everything in front of them. Al Golden, the defensive coordinator, decided to blitz. And that's all it took was that one little miscalculation on their end. And you have a Heisman candidate, C.J. Stroud, that was able to recognize it, and Xavier Johnson also able to recognize it, and they capitalized. That was a third down play too, guys, and that was a huge, huge touchdown, 24-yard touchdown, and obviously brought the stadium back too because the stadium was dead. It was a morgue. The fans, you could just tell the energy was gone. As soon as Ohio State was able to take the lead again, that crowd snapped right back into it. The sideline was ecstatic. The energy was back in that building, and that's what home field advantage is. That's what you have to take advantage of. So they got the lead. Now, here's where it comes down to the defense. All right, you just took the lead. How many times do you see a team go down and take the lead right back off of you? And this is where I really wanted to see if our defense could step up and make that stop. Ohio State on the kickoff. The kickoff coverage was fantastic tonight. There weren't many kickoffs, but it was fantastic tonight. And the guy that just made the touchdown catch, he was the first one down to make the tackle. Stop Notre Dame, had their backs up again against the back of their own goalpost. And what happens? First play from scrimmage. Again, you got to tip your cap sometimes when somebody makes a great play, and that's exactly what happened. Last play of the third quarter, they went ahead. Buckner took a shot down the right sideline, right over Denzel Burke, and the kid made a great play, great catch. You had one referee come in and wave it off. I don't know what happened there. It was never reviewed. I thought it might have been incomplete when I first saw it live, but they never reviewed it, so you move on. Then you get a 15-yard penalty as well, which moves Notre Dame even closer. And now, as an Ohio State fan, you're sitting there holding your breath now a little bit. You're thinking to yourself, wait a minute here. Come on, we just took the lead. We got a great catch, and we got a 15-yard pass interference call against us. What are we going to do? So the defense bucked up big time. They were able to get the stop and force a punt. So now we go into the fourth quarter, and the drive of the game, I'm going to call it the Mayan Williams drive because Mayan Williams, it's like thunder and lightning. You've got Henderson, who has the wheels and the speed. Mayan Williams, for a big running back, his shiftiness and the way he moves, I think is even better than TreVeyon Henderson's. Straight line speed, though, TreVeyon Henderson's unbelievable. He's lightning. But with Mayan is unbelievable how he's able to sidestep. His lateral movement is outstanding. That's why I love him. And the man, he's a grown man too. He runs mean and angry. And it's hard to find guys like that. He does not go down with arm tackles, and that's what you got to love about him. So Ohio State took over on their own 5-yard line after a great punt by Notre Dame. And it was the Mayan Williams drive, a couple great runs. And the big one, though, there was a huge catch on the sideline. Mayan Williams was starting to go out and run a wheel route. And as Stroud decided to go ahead and vacate the pocket and go left, he was able to come back. As every receiver is told, always get back to your quarterback. You got to work back towards him when he scrambles out of the pocket. And that's exactly what he did and made a great catch. It was a great throw by Stroud. Also, that was a third down play, too. So you want to talk about really gaining more momentum. Here's Notre Dame. They're doing what they need to do to try to get the ball back, to give them an opportunity and chance to go down and try to go ahead with a touchdown. Stroud makes a great play. Mayan Williams, even a better play on the sideline. So after the catch, they were methodically moving down the field, and it was a smash mouth, Woody Hayes type of drive after the catch. There were big chunks here and there. Mayan Williams, a couple great passes by Stroud, and it ended up being a drive of 14 plays, 95 yards, took over 7 minutes off the clock. Exactly what you want down in the fourth quarter when you want to show yourself, are we tough enough? Because we all know, watching the Michigan game last year, Ohio State got called out for not being tough. Well, the strength of Notre Dame is that defensive line, and I tell you what, the body blows started to take advantage. They really did. They took advantage, and the Mayan Williams took advantage of it. A lot more arm tackles, and he was able to punch it in from 1 yard out. It was an outstanding drive. And honestly, let's face it, guys, if you want to go and win a Big Ten championship, if you want to go to the playoffs, and you want to be talked about as that elite team, this is what it's talked about, and this is what it comes down to: being tough and making drives like this, taking time off the clock. I know you guys probably watched the Penn State-Purdue game the other night, and Purdue, because they just couldn't run the football, they were unable to take any time off the clock, and it just gave Penn State the opportunity to win it late, and that's exactly what happened. Tonight, though, outstanding job by the offensive line, the running back, everybody, the receivers blocking downfield. It was outstanding, and that's what championship teams are made of. Ohio State then kicks off to Notre Dame with a nice little cushion now. Game's still in doubt, though. It's still a touchdown, 2-point conversion, onside kick or whatever away. But Ohio State's defense, I can't speak enough about what they did tonight. And I want to highlight Mike Hall as the defensive lineman because when they took over on the 25-yard line, there were 2 runs or 2 incomplete passes, and Mike Hall right up the gut, grabbed Buckner, tossed him to the ground for the sack. And that basically ended the game right there because once Notre Dame had to give it back to Ohio State, Marcus Freeman only had 1 timeout left, so there was no point of them trying to stop the clock. And Ohio State was able to get another first down. It was the TreVeyon Henderson show at that point. So they brought the Lightning back in, and they were able to grind out the win. And we'll take it. Hey, it was an ugly win, but we'll take ugly wins at this point. I would have liked to have had Arkansas State maybe this first game, but guess what? A game like this, a night like this is how a team grows. There's a lot of good things to look at on film, and there's some bad things to look at. A lot of learning and teaching points. that will be useful down the road. So to kind of give you some stats from the game, because Ohio State was able to just go ahead and take a knee. And this is how dominating the defense was. I'll start with the defense first. In the second half alone, Notre Dame ran 20 plays. They had a total of 72 yards and only 5 first downs. Okay? Now, when you talk about dominant defense, that's what you talk about right there. Their total stats for the game, they had a total of 253 all-purpose yards or total yards rushing and passing. They had 177 passing yards, 76 rushing yards on 30 attempts. Okay, 2.5 yards a carry. Guys, last year, if we'd have given up 2.5 yards a carry, would have been in the playoffs and no issues. So I'll take it. 2.5 yards a carry, absolutely outstanding. The pass yards, at one point, Buckner was 8 of 8 for 128 yards. He finished only with 177 yards passing after those first 8 of 8 passes. He was 10 of 18, so he was 2 of 8 the rest of the way. So you got to love what you saw on the defense, and I'll take that any day of the week. It was an ugly performance on offense, and as a former basketball coach, I can sit here and tell you this. I coached for 22 years, and the one thing we always would stress is that the one thing that you always could remain constant was your defense. There's going to be nights when the ball is not going in the hoop, okay? But when you can lock the team down and force them, into tough shots, and you rebound and limit up to 1 shots, that's what you can do. Tonight was like one of those nights. Ohio State was struggling offensively, okay? They were able to shut Notre Dame down when they had to do it from basically midway through the first half on for the rest of the game, okay? And I can't be more ecstatic right now on that defense, and it's just going to keep getting better. The guys were able to get their feet underneath them this evening, and I can't be more ecstatic of it. I mean, look, the way it looked tonight, guess what? We have that defense throughout the year. Ohio State's going to have a great shot at winning the Big Ten championship and going to the playoff, okay? So let's flip over, talk a little bit about Ohio State's offense, okay? One of the things is they did maintain possession 33 minutes on the game. Stroud was 24-34 for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't get much downfield. Granted, he had the touchdown pass to Egbuka. It was a pass out in the flat, and Egbuka was able to take the rest of the way. And the pass to Xavier Johnson was a 24-yarder as well. Those were his only 2 really downfield cracks that he had. A lot of his other stuff was all underneath because of the way Notre Dame was playing all night. So you got to get what the defense lets you get, and that's got to be your dump-offs to your backs. He used Cade Stover tonight. How many times did we see an Ohio State tight end catch that many balls in a game? Jeremy Ruckert, maybe 1 or 2 in his career, maybe that many balls. So if a team's going to play you that way, you got to take advantage of your backs and your dump-offs and your tight ends, okay? Because they're just going to sit on your receivers, and so you got to take advantage of your other guys. So the rushing, you can't even ask for anything better than what we got. Henderson had 15 carries. Miyan Williams had 14 carries. Henderson had 91 yards rushing. Miyan Williams had 84 yards rushing. And actually, Ohio State ended up with about 395 yards of total offense and 7-13 on third down. That's one of the great things they did against Notre Dame. Notre Dame was 3 of 13 on third down. You got to get off the field when you get teams in third down situations. Last year against Michigan in the second half, they never got Michigan in a third down situation the entire second half. Think about that. How on earth can you never get a team in a third down situation? Well, tonight you could see the difference, okay? You hold a team to 3 for 13 on third downs, you're going to win a lot of ball games with that. Okay. Now, I see a lot of guys starting to comment. As we continue on the show here, I will go back and also touch on some of your comments. And again, my opinion is my opinion. All of you may have different opinions. I'll go back and try to touch as many as I can, and we'll go from there. One of my players of the game, though, Jesse Mirco, the punter. Outstanding tonight. He had 5 punts. He averaged 45 yards a punt, and he had 4 punts inside the 20-yard line. Okay. Reminds you of Cam Johnson, doesn't it? Cam Johnson was absolutely fantastic at pinning people inside the 15 and 10-yard line. Well, Mirco's really worked on his craft, being able to pin, kicking that ball with the point down and doing a great job on not letting that ball roll into the end zone. And again, it's special teams. Ohio State was down there great, making sure they were there to cover those punts. And you can't ask for anything better than that. When a team is that far back with their backs against the end zone, it limits what they can do offensively. They got to be more conservative. Now, granted, you've got Buckner, who was a first-time starting quarterback. He's on the road in that environment. They had to be conservative. They couldn't take chances because they were in the game, okay? They knew up 10-7, they couldn't afford a turnover late. They couldn't afford a pick six down there. So that's where the punting was just outstanding. As Jim Tressel would say, punt's one of the most important plays in football. Tonight proved it once again to where it was, where Jesse Mirco was able to keep Notre Dame pinned back and not let Reese be able to, their offensive coordinator, be able to open up the playbook a little bit for them. Now, one of the side notes I did want to talk about offensively or just in general, Ohio State had 7 penalties tonight. They gave up 75 yards on penalties. More importantly, DeJuan Jones had 3 procedure penalties. So, he's got to be better than that. I know he struggled last year in Michigan, but he's also coming in as a preseason All-American too. Preseason All-Americans don't have 3 offensive false starts in a game. They just don't. So I'm sure Coach Fry will get after him about that. He's got to be better than that. And, when you're struggling offensively, the last thing you need to do is to be behind the sticks. And there were a few times that those penalties put Ohio State behind the sticks. And then now that limits what you can do when you don't have your best offensive weapon and Smith and Jigba out there, okay? And you're trying to get guys acclimated. Julian Fleming, once again, why wasn't he in the game? It's unbelievable. I don't know what's going on with him. One of the best receivers in the country coming out of high school. He's had some really bad luck. I was really looking forward to seeing him on the field tonight, and I'm not sure if he ever got there. I mean, when you've got guys like Xavier Johnson and Jaden Ballard in there, you're really starting to get down that depth chart. Thank God Ohio State has such a great depth chart with wideouts, and you've got those guys stepping up. Jaden Ballard made some great plays, caught a first down pass, I remember, and, of course, Xavier Johnson with the touchdown. So there's two guys. You got a freshman, you got Xavier Johnson, who's basically a journeyman that's been there for several years, and he took his opportunity and he seized it right there. And that's what you got to love about it. The kid never gave up. He was able to come out, seize the moment, made a big play. Same thing with Jaden Ballard, and caps off to those guys, okay? So that's basically covers the whole drives and some of the good, the bad, the ugly. Again, I already highlighted Mike Hall, one of my players of the game on defense. I thought the defensive backs were pretty good tonight. The safeties came up, laid the wood a few times. I thought our linebackers played very, very well. I just love Jim Knowles' scheme. He attacks, and that's what you want. Ohio State goes out and gets all these 5-star guys, these 4- and 5-star guys, and these athletes that can run and just make plays. And it's unbelievable how last year the defense was the way that it was. And it just shows you. It reminds me of what Jeff Hafley did his first year when he came in 2019. What a difference he made. And that just goes to show you where coaching comes into play. So you got to love it. And I just look for things to keep getting better and better here, guys, and I'm sure you do too. But we'll take a win right now against the top 5 team in the country, and we'll move on. So right now, let me go back up here. I'll take a look at some of the comments here. I'll maybe highlight you and see what some of you guys are saying here. Yeah, Jeremiah Yoder, yes. Travion Henderson down the stretch, and Miyan Williams as well. Yes, sir. Earl Campbell, you better believe it right there. Good point. I said Miyan Williams, he runs angry. And not only does he run angry, the kid has tremendous lateral movement. How he's able to jump step, and jump hop off away from defenders and make people miss. He does not go down with an arm tackle. There is no doubt about it. And that's why I think that with Henderson and Williams, it's a great 1-2 punch. It's kind of like thunder and lightning as far as I'm concerned. That's the way I look at it. You got Miyan Williams that can run between the tackle, and he can also stretch it too and get outside. He's did a great job transforming his body this year. Lost some weight, got leaner, he's stronger, and he just doesn't go down with an arm tackle. So I can't speak volumes about it. And I tell you what, the other one I'm really disappointed about is Evan Pryor. As you guys know, he was the 3rd string back. He had a great spring game, and not having Evan Pryor out there kind of does stink, because I think they were going to really do some things with him and have some packages for him. And it's really disappointing that he suffered a season-ending injury. And so it's really a 2-man show. They've got a true freshman right now that's sitting there. So it's going to be the 2-man show basically. Let's see what else we got here. Dan, yeah, the defense hasn't looked like that since the national championship run in 2014. Very exciting. Yeah, I agree 100%. I know it was Notre Dame. I know they're missing their top receiver. But in this day and age, in this day and age of college football, to hold a team to 10 points is absolutely outstanding. I don't care who it is, It doesn't matter. This day and age, the way the offenses are constructed right now, the up-tempo offenses, and the way teams get up on the ball and they run fast, to hold a team to 10 points was outstanding tonight. There's no question about it. Let's see here. Another comment here. Mr. Barnes, I know Stroud isn't a runner, but he's got to take off sometimes and get 5 to 7 yards instead of forcing a bad pass. Yeah, one thing they didn't do tonight at all is run any type of zone read stuff with Henderson at all. It was basically just straight ISO, handoff, and go and see what you got. A few counter plays here or there, and that's about it. So, again, one of the things that hampered Stroud last year was he got banged up the first game of the season against Minnesota. He had that shoulder injury, and he was really never a threat to run the football at all. But I think as we get down the stretch here and as we move through the season, they'll start game planning, probably run a little bit more zone read stuff, and obviously he will have to take and run sometimes. So there's always that point where he has to get out and run the ball, no doubt. Let's see here. Troy, it was not a good game, but they pulled it out. They won it. It was a liability for a couple of years. Defense, I'm happy about it. Absolutely. Everyone is Ohio State fans right now. We have to be tickled pink the way the defense played. It was aggressive. It was attacking. Jim Knowles was spot on the way he described how he wanted his defense to play, basically just cutting them loose and letting them go. He's a master of disguise prior to the snap, especially with a young quarterback in. You don't know if you're in 4 deep. You don't know if you're in 2 deep, if you're in cover 3. It's all window dressing before the snap of the ball. So you're seeing one thing just before the snap, and once the ball snapped, Ohio State's slipping into something different. So that's one thing about it. And again, I think that's one thing we are going to be very excited about and watch this defense grow. The offense is going to come, guys. Let's face it. It's an elite offense. We just got to hope Smith-Njigba is not seriously injured, and the offense will be there. My concerns, and I think everybody's concern tonight, was what is Ohio State's defense going to look like? Okay, I think we got a good answer on what to look forward to for the rest of the season. All right, let's see here. Yeah, David here. You know, Xavier Johnson, I already mentioned him. He turned that game around, absolutely. He made 2 tremendous plays. Caught the touchdown pass. He was the next guy down on special teams to make the tackle. I mean, it's stuff like that. When you see stuff like that, you can't help but get excited for a kid that has worked so hard. He got his opportunity, and he made it pay off. And that's exactly what you want to see with kids that get that opportunity. Let's see here. Yeah, Notre Dame, 0 points in the second half, 76 total yards rushing. Actually, 76 rushing yards. I kind of touched that already. And, again, when you can limit any team to under 100 yards rushing, that's right where you want to be at. That is right where you want to be at. Yeah, Luke, talking about Njigba. Let's hope it's not serious. I really couldn't see anything right there. How his leg got rolled up on. And again, I mentioned earlier in my opening about Ohio State doesn't give any type of injury updates. And, of course, Ryan Day in his press conference probably isn't going to talk about it either. Everyone's going to want to know what's going on with Smith-Njigba. And, Ryan Day will just treat it as it's probably day-to-day. And honestly, guys, if we have to, he doesn't have to play against Arkansas State next week. So if you can't beat Arkansas State without Jackson Smith-Njigba, then obviously you don't deserve to be going anywhere other than to just play your season out. So let's hope it's not serious, and we'll just keep fighting from there. Yeah, Jimbo. Buckner, 10 of 18. I touched on that. He started the game 8 for 8. Started the game 8 for 8 and finished the game 2 of 10. So, kudos to Ohio State on that. Yes. And Jimbo also mentioned about Mayer here, too. Listen, there's 2 tight ends in the country that are 1A and 1B. Bowers from Georgia and Mayer from Notre Dame. They're both basically Rob Gronkowski prototypes. That's what they are. And Mayer is a matchup nightmare. He's outstanding, and they'll both be tremendous pros. So, yes. And the catches that those Notre Dame players made, 2 of them were unbelievable. Well, 3 of them were unbelievable. The one down the center for the tight end was a juggling catch. The walk-on individual for Notre Dame that ended up leading them to their touchdown to take the lead. And you had the one down the sideline late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. Yeah, Dave, I'm telling you right now, you better believe that defensive line. That's it. And that's what separates the elite teams from the great teams. That's why Alabama is always where they are, because it's about the front 4, okay? When you have a front 4 that can put that amount of pressure on your quarterback, okay, it makes that back 7, they don't have to worry about much, okay? But when you got to start sending more guys to get pressure on the quarterback, when you can't get pressure with your front 4, that's when you become susceptible to big plays. But the defensive line, Larry Johnson, hey, we got the best defensive line coach in the country, and you got to give Ryan Day credit. He knew things had to be changed. He brought in a whole new defensive staff except Larry Johnson. He knew who to keep. So kudos to that and our defensive line. I just want to see him keep getting better and better and keep getting after guys. Yeah, the badass Buckeye. Yeah, he'll be a good quarterback at Notre Dame. He just needs experience. He needs reps. I mean, that's the bottom line. It was a tough start for him. He's coming into a hostile environment, playing the number 2 team in the country. And, at times, other than the first 8 throws that he made, he struggled at times, and it showed. So, Buchner will be fine. He'll learn how to use his feet better too. They do run some good zone read stuff with him, and he'll make some plays with his feet. And as he gets more reps, being able to read the defense, he'll start to become a better quarterback himself. Yeah, Troy. I already mentioned Dewan Jones. He had 3 false start penalties tonight. Can't have that, especially in big games, especially when you go into hostile environments where now you got to try to do it in a tough situation when the crowd's against you. So that has to be cleaned up. As a preseason All-American, that's someone that, as a preseason All-American, you can't be having those types of penalties. You just can't do it. Yep, I agree. Raleigh Sailing, Miyan Williams was a beast. He's an angry man. I can tell you that right now. He runs angry, no doubt about it. Love the way he runs with power, runs with force, and does a great job. See what else you guys got here. Yeah, CJ Preach. I mean, again, it was a bit of a slugfest. It was a sloppy game, not what we expected out of Ohio State's offense. But there's times, like I said, I use the basketball analogy when I coach basketball. There's going to be times when the ball's just not going in the hoop, but you can always rely on your defense to keep you in games until you make enough plays. And that's exactly what Ohio State's defense did tonight. Ohio State kept them in the game that gave Stroud just enough time to get out and make a few big plays, and that's exactly what they did. Let's see what else here. Jeremiah, again, I already talked about it. Third down, defensive efficiency by Ohio State. I mean, they held Notre Dame to 3 of 13 on third down. I mean, and again, that's what elite defenses do. They get you in third down long situations, and they get you off. They get the defense off the field. They make the play. So again, if Ohio State can keep that up, then they're going to put themselves in great positions every game to be successful. I'll tell you one of the other things I didn't mention that I wrote down here. Last year, one of the struggles that Ohio State had was short yardage situations. And it did rear its ugly head a few times tonight in short yardage situations, one in the first half. After they had taken a 7-3 lead and they held Notre Dame, got the ball back, they had a 3rd and 2 and gave it to Williams and got stuffed. I mean, one of the biggest issues last year was the fact that Ohio State was basically playing with 4 tackles on the line and not guards. Luke Whippler starting center as a center, and they had Thayer Mumford and Paris Johnson moved down playing guard. So now they've got more guards out there, Matt Jones and Donovan Jackson, 5-star guard. So, again, it reared its ugly head. But late in the game, didn't rear its ugly head there. That's where Ohio State pulled up, put their big boy pants on, and they went out and they laid the wood to that defensive line. Notre Dame were able to close the game out. Nah, here's a comment, about Stroud. Has Stroud regressed? No, not at all. I think that's where you have to obviously tip your hat to Notre Dame. Okay, it isn't that Stroud has regressed. The game plan defensively that Notre Dame ran limits what Stroud could do. Okay, I basically equated it to Northwestern. If you guys remember during the COVID year, when Ohio State played Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game, and Justin Fields, who's a great quarterback, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL right now, he looked very, very shaky. It's because of the defense that they play. Rushing only 3 or 4 guys, dropping 7, 8 in coverage, not letting anybody get back behind them. So making you have to make plays in front, dinking and ducking. CJ wants to get the ball downfield, okay? That's what he wants to do. And again, it's only his second year starting. It's the first game, okay? Just he'll be able to go back into film study now and understand, look, this is probably what Ohio State is going to see a lot, okay? Because of the offensive weaponry that they have, okay, teams are just not going to go out there and try to match up man-to-man with all those receivers and try to run around the field with them. It's actual suicide at that point, okay? So there's no point in trying to go man-to-man and trying to do those things with the stud receivers that Ohio State has. So now what you have to do is say, look, you got to try to run the football. That's why Trey Sermon had the yards that he had in that Big Ten championship game. Same thing here tonight against Notre Dame. They forced him to try to make plays underneath all night. He got his 2 shots. Emeka Egbuka for a touchdown on the deep out, and then down to Xavier Johnson down the middle on a post, where Notre Dame took a gamble, and it was a great read by Stroud at that point. So that's where you have to also tip your hat to C.J. Stroud. When he had a chance to make a play, that's exactly what he did. ND struggled with special teams flags, didn't have the wide receivers, great defense performance, but we have to see a team against a team with passing weapons and when you're pinned up like Notre Dame was. Well, like I said, Jesse Mirko had Notre Dame pinned back all night, okay? You got a first-time starting quarterback, and this is what you're left with. So you can't be as aggressive offensively. You're in the game. It's not like Ohio State was up 28-7 and you had to start forcing things downfield and have your quarterback try to make plays. You're in the ball game. It's a 10-7 game most of the game. And then when you were only down 14-10, okay, you were still in the game. It's only a 1-possession game. So, hey, give Notre Dame credit tonight, guys. You have to give them credit. Marcus Freeman and Al Golden, they had a good game plan. They knew that they couldn't watch Ohio State man for man. And as I said, they just tried to make Stroud dink and dunk all night. And, that's what he had to do. Ohio State had to take advantage, and it took them a while, a good 2/3 of the game, before they finally started to take advantage of what Notre Dame was giving them. Yep, Jeremiah, good comments again. They find a way to get through early struggles and find a way to win. It counts the most. Driving down the field and to score a touchdown in the fourth quarter, doesn't hurt either. So, again, when Ohio State needed to make the plays late in that second half, okay, to close the game out up 14-10 when they took over from their 5-yard line, that was a championship drive, okay? Now, it's the first game of the year. I'm not going to sit here and be Nostradamus and say, let's look back at that drive as being something that, leads Ohio State down the road. But it's also something that you can look at and say, hey, on film, when we needed to make a point, run some time, and go down and get points on the board, that's exactly what they did. Nothing's worse than, you can look at it from a couple standpoints. You can look at it and say they ran clock but didn't score, okay? That's great. But when you run clock and you go down and score on top of it, that's the double dagger right there. And that's where the game ended right there for Notre Dame, when Ohio State basically went in and ripped their heart out with that drive and just took it right to them down the field. So Yep. Mike, it's just about winning games, man. Listen, I'm sure all of us are all excited. We got the news earlier, a day or two ago, that the college football playoff is going to expand to 12 teams. So, hey, right now, we got to take what we can. It's a 14 format, but right now, just keep winning games. As far as we're concerned as fans, I'll take 14 ugly wins over a couple great wins, because that means you're a national champion at that point. Okay, so a win's a win right now. And again, like I said, the great thing is, guys, as we know, Ohio State tonight offensively, it was a C- game for them. Okay, C-. All right, defense, you got to give them an A. All right, but it was a C- game offensively, and the great thing about it is, guess what? You can go and film, you can watch film, you can learn from your mistakes, and it's good teaching material. That's what it is. It's just good teaching material. So, especially, it's always great after a win. So that's what we like to see: teaching material and get a win on top of it. Now, before I close tonight, guys, so Ohio State starts the season 1-0. Next week's opponent, Arkansas State, out of the Sun Belt Conference. I did check a score earlier this evening, and they were beating Grambling. I believe it was like 37-0. So, again, here you are. And I always like to say this because I coached college basketball. You never know what you're getting with 18 to 21 or 22-year-old kids, okay? You just don't know. So you go from this emotional win and this emotional effort. Now you come back next Saturday against a team in the Sun Belt Conference, okay? And it's a noon kickoff, all right? So this is where, again, we'll see where growth is with this team. Everyone that you talk to, all the pundits will say Ohio State's either playing for the national championship, they have a shot at winning the national championship, or they're making the college football playoff, okay? But with that comes growth. So here next week at noon, high noon kickoff against Arkansas State, a Sun Belt team that, again, like I said earlier, Smith and Jigba, you don't need them. You could probably just go ahead and hold him out and beat Arkansas State without him. Because if you can't handle Arkansas State, then as fans, guys, just let's face it, we're going to play out the season, and we're probably not going to go anywhere but other than a bowl game. So let's look for a great effort next week. Hopefully they can come out with their hair on fire a little bit against Arkansas State and put 21 or 28 on the board in that first quarter, early second quarter, and then just go ahead and cruise from there. Like Alabama tonight. Utah State goes into Alabama. You can see what type of Alabama is, what type of team they are. They go out, they take care of business. They didn't mess around. 41-0 at the half, and they just coasted from there. Okay, that's the type of effort. If you want to be considered a championship team, that's the type of effort that you got to have next week against Arkansas State. So, in closing, we can't be more excited than the defense, the way it played tonight. Let's just keep seeing guys grow from there. One guy I didn't see on defense tonight, I don't know if you guys did, but was Tyleik Williams. I don't know where he was tonight. Mike Hall was in that 3-tech, which is right over the centers, either side of him. That's the 3-tech position right there, and played fantastic. So our defensive ends were fantastic. Jack Sawyer, Zach Harrison, Tuimoloau were all fantastic tonight. And our linebackers were great too. So it's a building process. This isn't a one-game season. This isn't a sprint. It is a marathon. That's what you have to remember. So, again, one game at a time. Let's just hope that we can stay healthy, okay, and just keep building. It's a building block situation. Tonight was part of the blocks of the foundation, and you just keep growing from there. So I will be back on next week. I'll set the schedule, time. I try to get online shortly thereafter the game if I could. With these night games on a Saturday night, you just don't know when they're going to end. So I know this is a little late this evening, But I appreciate you guys coming on tonight and taking a look here and listen to what I had to say. And remember, join the Discord at Talk College Football all the time. Sign up at patreon.com. Search Mark Rogers TV. Also, guys, if you want, you can actually donate to the channel if you like. It's up to you. You don't have to donate. People have donated as much as $500. They've donated $1. They haven't donated at all. I'm doing this on my own because I love it. I love Ohio State football. I love to talk about it, and that's why I'm here. So next week, after the Arkansas State game, if it does start to become a rout, I may jump on earlier. I'll have 2 other guests with me next week, B. Moses and Kyler Koch is his name. So it won't just be me. I'll have 2 guests with me, and hope we can see some of you guys back next week. And enjoy your weekend. Hey, Labor Day weekend, guys. Take advantage of it all while we're off. Enjoy the time off. And I will see you guys all next week again. Take care.